does, they had started something called school as an infrastructure where everyone would go and learn and study over there. But in the present era, you can see that the kind of way of teaching, the methodology of teaching has completely changed. I remember when I used to go to school before, I used to carry a big bag, a lot of books. Those were the golden days for me though. But yeah, like I remember so many books we had used to take. We used to purchase, new pencil boxes, sketch pens, all these things. But these days it's completely changed. Like you see kids not carrying those heavy kind of bags, and these days kids are well versed in understanding the technology, well versed in understanding how the tab works, how the phone works. All this is because of impact of technology in education. And these days it's not important that you need to go to a school. When I say go to a school, it means like you need not have a physical structure, like physical infrastructure, wherein you can consider that's the only place to study. You can't consider it as that way. So technology has evolved a lot, and it has impacted education in a huge way. So when I say blended learning, so this is something not exactly a new concept as such, but this is a concept which is getting popularized these days among all the developing countries and all the developing economies. So just one question to all of you who's on the call: what word comes to your mind when you hear word blended learning? So there's a QR code over here. You can just scan it if you're using phone. If the phone is allowed within the college premises, you can just scan this QR code, and then you will on your phones you will get an option. You can just type what word comes to your mind. Yeah, yeah.
Dr. Nishant, sorry to disturb you. Your presentation is not on slides. As slideshow. Yeah, now it's on slideshow.
Oh, okay. So you're not able to see. Okay, okay. Wait a second. Yeah, I guess you'll be able to see it now. Yeah. So there is a QR code on screen. So what I was asking you all to do is, if you have a phone, take your phone and scan this QR code. If it's projected on a projector over there, you just scan it, and on your phone you'll be getting a question, a Q&A, and whatever word comes to your mind, you can just type it over there on your phone. Ma'am, is the phones allowed in the college premises?
Yes,
Are you
yes.
able
Today
to
it is
scan
on.
it? Okay, okay, then it's fine. Yeah, since it was a blended learning, right? So I thought, like, let's get some blended learning things into the presentation. So that's the reason I flashed this QR code. So what you could do is you could just scan this QR code, and whatever word comes to your mind when you hear the term blended learning, you can just type it on your phone. So I got two words, that is hybrid, exploring. Okay, innovative, exploring, hybrid, good number of words, new idea. Some more. I understand there are around 100 plus people on this call listening to the session.
Yeah, we have
Not
some
bad.
answers in the chat box as well.
Hybrid mix of
Oh, okay.
Hybrid mix of online and
I think they're not able to
blended.
scan it.
I think they're not able to scan it, some of them.
Okay. Okay, to make it easier, what I'll do is I'll just type it on the chat too. Or else it's okay. Yeah, I got good amount. Okay. Okay, someone made it much more easier. Blended learning has a remix. Okay, good. Remix. Okay, innovative technology remix. Exploring. Okay. Good. So why I have shared the screen is I am based out in Australia, and I wanted to get the insights of what word comes to your mind, when you hear the term blended learning. So I am sitting over here, and the professors, lecturers, and everyone who is listening to the session is based out in Mangalore. But still, I'm able to understand, and I am able to get this on my screen over here. So that's a beautiful way of using the technology when it comes to learning. And this is one of the ways how you can make learning one of the best ways, so that you learn as well as you get a good amount of take home messages, so that when you go home after learning from your school or college, later it will be possible for you to implement in your day-to-day life. So thanks for everyone for involving learn throughout a combination of online as well as offline instruction. So what happens is work on this homeworks, and that is the way how we used to work on our studies and learnings. But what used to happen is few of the kids used to enjoy writing homework, and few of the kids used to consider it as a burden, because that's not the way of learning for that particular kind of kid or a particular student. So that is where this blended learning came into picture, and also with the unexpected reasons like pandemic happening. So that is where this blended learning concept has been popularized in our country. So this approach usually involves the classroom. Yeah, classroom sessions are always going to be there. It's not that the classroom sessions are not going to be effective. It's always there. But blended learning is all about improvising and make it much more effective, the classroom session, so that a kid or a student can learn the theories or the practical sessions in much more better way by having a smart TV or the smart interactive TVs. Like we used to call it as a blackboard or a whiteboard before, but these days you get to see that you see a huge smart interactive TVs in schools and colleges, wherein you get to see the visuals, wherein you get in touch, and you get to interact with the screen and understand the theory and the subject much more better way than what we used to learn it before. I have a small video which will make it much more easy to understand what blended learning is. Just play it. blended learning. So this video gives a very insights, very much a lot of insights about blended learning, and makes it much more simpler, because that is one video which uses animation and good music and good voice to explain any kind of theory or tough topics. So one used to go to school, or when I used to go to college, when you used to leave, when you we used to study something like Newton's law, or something like chemical bonding. It was very difficult. I would like to give a hats off to teachers who tried their best to explain to us like what those tough aspects chemistry and maths. uh, but these days what's happening is the teacher can explain, and along with that you find a lot of materials online is going to help. And when I say visual materials, I also remember that these days there's a word which is it could be on social media, like these days there are a lot of influencers who use contents and also earn good amount of money from that. And when it comes to content, we need to be clear about what kind of content is relevant to the target audience, is what I say, because target audience can be anyone. It could be a student, it could yeah. So coming towards the slide, that is blended learning in the digital era. So why blended learning is important in this present digital era is because blended learning is becoming increasingly important, because with the increase of competition, because everyone these days are well versed with technology, and like the present working culture itself is digital. And going ahead in future, after 10 to 15 years, I'm sure like it's going to be something different. uh, what we have learned 10 years back is completely different, and the way of working these days, it could be in corporate, it could be in colleges, or any kind of institutions, has completely changed. So it's very important that in every stages, the way of teaching, the way of learning, the methodology of teaching and learning changes. And blended learning is something which is the aspect which has to be implemented in this digital era, so that our next generation will be ready for the next aspects of digital technology, which is going to come in next 10 to 15 years. So in the digital era, students expect to have access to online resources and to be able to learn at their own pace. So this is one beautiful aspect about blended learning is, even if you feel that, today you're not well, or today you don't have time to allow to study physics or maths or chemistry, you could always schedule the time and to the, it could be on cloud, it could be on YouTube. You could always access this content whenever you are free, and you could fast forward it, rewind it, you could pause it, and study it on your own pace. So that's one beautiful aspect about blended learning. And it also allows the integration of technology in the classroom. So before, we all used to learn, for example, I have done my mechanical engineering, and we used to have few of the practical sessions which used to happen in lathe shop, or machine shops. There would be only one device, where one equipment wherein we used to get the practical exposure towards how to use that machine, how to use the lathe machine, or how to do a drilling, or how to do a molding. But with blended learning, what happens is we get a practical exposure, and after that we also get a theoretical exposure in the classroom. And after that, as an add-on, you could always go and refer to the content which is on the cloud, or which is on the YouTube, which is much more visually appealing and helps you understand in a much more better way, with all the feedbacks from the global content, like the video which is on the YouTube. It could be from any specific country. It could be relevant to India. It could be relevant to Australia. It could be relevant to any of the countries. So you could choose. You have an option to choose. Like I want to learn about this thing happening in this part of the country, or this thing happening in this part of the globe. So that's a beautiful one more beautiful aspect about blended learning. And the next one, the last one, which is very important, quite important, is this is going to be cost effective. Like we might think that merging technology as well as you know yeah hello. Yeah. the merging technology as well as the classroom sessions is going to be costly. That can be a kind of myth, because end of the day, when you're trying to get technology in improvising something, it's going to reduce the cost for sure, because the kind of infrastructure we spend on building colleges, the building on more than building an infrastructure, it's all about working on the technical contents, like the syllabuses. To make it simpler, working on the syllabus is much more important over here, and it's going to be cost effective. That's a plus point, and that is where the government is also trying to emphasize on coming up with more such concepts across the country, uh, even in the rural regions wherein we are not able to reach out and have a proper setup of a kind of school. So that is where government has been emphasizing on coming up with blended learning and using technology to educate a maximum number of people across the country. Yeah. And what is advantages of blended learning over traditional learning? There are a lot of advantages whenever a new technology comes in. It's actually for the benefit of the mankind, and it all depends upon how we understand the technology and how we tend to use this technology for the betterment of society. Learning is something which has evolved throughout the year, and at present it's in the best stage across the globe. It's in the best phase across the globe. So the first aspect is personalization, as I mentioned previously. What happens in blended learning is, for example, I am a teacher, and I teach for around 50 students in a classroom, and I understand, have been a teacher, I understand that this student is good when I explain in practically, when I explain using some visual videos. So once you understand the student, right, based on that, we can come up with a syllabus, we can come up with the way of teaching that particular student and personalize the content. So what I'm trying to say is, out of the in a classroom there are around 50 students, and that 25 students might like practical sessions, and other 25 students might like watching visual contents and learning from that. So when you club these both kind of contents, that's practical, theoretical as well as visual contents, it's going to benefit the whole class. The whole class, which consists of 50 students, is going to benefit everyone. So personalization of the content is very much easier in the concept of blended learning. So that is one of the important aspects of blended learning. And the next one is flexibility. As I said, you need not stick to the timetable. Like, you need not stick to saying that, if I don't go to class today, I'm going to miss this particular session. I'm going to miss this particular subject, what the topic. For instance, these days, if in your classroom sessions, like there's a recording of the classroom, or the teacher explained that the recording is shared with the students and the parents of the students, and you can always go back to those recordings and understand whatever was taught. And this flexibility comes only with the blended learning. Before, even when I used to go to school, and I'm not that old though, it's not that uh, very long I used to go to school, maybe 10 years back when I used to go to school. Even then, this technology wasn't there. Even then, what used to happen is, in case if I used to miss the classroom sessions, I used to go and ask my friend who could explain me. Or else, there would be something like a tuition class where, in case if you have missed the subjects, you go back to tuition classes and learn those subjects over there. But end of the day, it always used to depend upon an infrastructure. It used to depend on your timing. It used to depend that, availability of the teacher at that particular point of time. But with blended learning, what has happened is, with the recordings of the sessions happening and with a lot of visual contents that's been created these days for different kind of topics, it has become easier to access these knowledgeable resources at any point of time. Like, whenever you are free, you go and see these videos and learn from these videos. And the next point is increased engagement. So when I say increased engagement, what I mean to say is, uh, out of a group of 50 students, 20 would be interested in listening to the class, and rest 30 may not be interested in listening to class. But with blended learning, as per the statistics, as per the insights, 70 to 75% of kids, of students, they are interested in kind of blended learning concept. Uh, they have been benefited by this blended learning concept, and that is where this blended learning concept is getting accredited globally. The next one is access to resources. That blended learning provides students with access to wide range of resources such as online tutorials, videos, interactive exercises, supplement and enhance their person instruction. So the blended learning is not only about having a visual content. It's a kind of content wherein it would make a student to interact in the form of quizzes or maybe games, or the homework what's been given in the blended learning is also kind of different. You would like something like design thinking kind of concept is used in blended learning, which is proven to be beneficial to kids of any ages. It could be kids, it could be students, it could be the management students, it could be the ones who are trying to learn when they are in the corporate sector, so that they could grow in their career. And improved learning outcomes. Studies have shown that blended learning can improve student learning outcomes, including increased test scores and higher graduation rates. And yeah, and better tech savvy generation. So 5 years back or 10 years back, even if you are not tech savvy, that would work. But now at present, in this digital era, what's happening is, if you don't know coding, or if you don't know programming, or if you don't understand digital marketing, uh, it's like you're not in the race at all. So the world has become very competitive with the technology that's being evolved, and in case if you don't understand at least little bit of aspects of how social media works, especially for the marketers, I'm trying to say is, if you don't understand about digital marketing, SEO, SCM, Facebook ads, it's kind of you're not in the race at all. So you need to understand that with improvisation of technology, wherever, in whichever stage of life you are, in whichever point of career you are, you need to learn, and you need to never stop learning. So with this blended learning concept, going to happen is, we are making our future generation ready now, so that they are well prepared and ready for the next phase of digital era that's going to come in next 5 to 10 years. Okay, so with every technology, there is a kind of a drawback which comes along with the evolution of technology. So there are few minor drawbacks of blended learning concept, which can be improvised. So when I say drawbacks, it's nothing but challenges. So blended learning is a good concept, but in implementing that, we would hugely require the support from the government. I'm speaking in terms of the Indian government in implementing the blended learning concept across India, in nook and corners, in all the villages, in all the rural areas. So getting this concept implemented will take some more time, and we would need a huge support in terms of infrastructure, in terms of manpower, because we would need a lot of teachers who are well versed in blended learning concepts, and how the what kind of technology is used behind taking such lessons, and teaching in such kind of classrooms, the smart classrooms. So ensuring equity and access to technology and resources is a key challenge. So one of the major challenge is, even now, like we say that we are into 5G, 4G, 3G. Like 3G has been long back, like we are in 5G, and like I'm sure in next 2 3 years there would be 6G too. But still, even few of the places, not only in India, across the globe, I'm sure, there would be few of the places and few of the regions where there is no internet, there's no access to education, there's no access to learning. So that shouldn't happen. So that is one of the challenges which the government of the respective country has to look into, so that infrastructure like internet is one of the main infrastructure which is needed for blended learning, and then comes the manpower. Managing the integration of technology, including training teachers and ensuring once the teachers are hired, once the teachers are hired, they should be taught, like how the future classrooms are going to look like the teachers who are going for respective colleges now and learning how like who aspire to be a teacher or a professor later on, they should be trained now itself, that how the future classrooms are going to be or could be, so that they are well versed in handling the kind of students, the questions coming from the students, and the kind of technology that will be used in the future. The measuring the effectiveness of blended learning requires careful consideration of appropriate evaluation methods and data collection. So previously, the syllabus was clear, and we knew that how a student or a person is judged based on their marks. But with this kind of blended learning experience, with the combination of theoretical learning, classroom learning, and also the interactive and visual learning, the way of judging the intelligence, the way of scoring should change a little bit, so that a person or a student shouldn't be completely judged based on the score that person gets. That's the present debatable statement. Some people say that the scoring is something which is very important for a student or for a person who is going for an undergraduate or graduation college, and there is one other set of audience who think something like practical scoring should be something for creativity, where there should be a pattern of scoring. So that is somewhere even the government and other leaders are thinking about how to frame this as a proper scoring model when the blended learning comes into the picture in a full-fledged way in all the colleges and schools. And personalization and adaptability in blended learning approach should be considered to cater to diverse learning needs. Continuous monitoring is something which is very important when it comes to blended learning. Yeah. So there are few of the case studies which which I would want to share, wherein Indian government has worked on different projects to improve facility and the learning facility in the places where there is no access to education at all, where education is completely zero. So one of the example of blended learning in Indian education is the use of digital study hall, done by Indian government 5 years back, and it's completely changed the education system in these regions. It was started initially in Gujarat and later on the different parts of our country, wherein there were no teachers, there were no facilities for education, there were no faculties who were well trained to educate the students in those particular regions. So that is where digital study hall program was formed by Indian government. And what used to happen in this digital study hall is uh, the students in those particular of different videos, different study materials, everything online, which was put on digital study hall cloud. And every student, every region would have the facility and also the faculty of around five teach the students in a practical and theoretical sessions happening in the classroom. And along with that, they also used to get access to different interactive games, interactive videos, which would help them easily understand the topics. And every student was given a tab. So that's something very important which we need to understand, that like the students, the kids who were in the rural regions, who didn't know how to speak in the proper English, or who were not understanding how to do a proper mathematics or understand physics, they were given a tab and they were trained on how to use a tab, and they were made to understand how simple this UI or user design is, so that any kid could use this tab. So that's that's one of the things which Indian government had done, that is digital study hall. And the program has been implemented in over 1,000 schools in India, has been shown to improve student learning and outcomes, particularly in mathematics and science. So the next program is something called as Ekalavya. So I'm sure like everyone knows who Ekalavya is. One of the famous characters in Indian mythology, and still you would have an access to all the study materials which would help the students in those. And in UK, the Open University has been using blended learning for over 50 years. The kind of the design thinking, the blended learning is something which has been used in and the university has also been able to